SASCO Mpumalanga Provincial Secretary Siyabonga Shabalala joins us now for more and to pay tribute to David Mabuza. Very good evening to you, Mr. Shabalala. Thank you so much for joining us and a warm welcome to the late edition.
No, thank you. Allow me to take this opportunity to greet yourself and greet all your viewers at home. Also send our deepest condolences to the Mabuza family, to society at large, because this thing has affected not only residents of Mpumalanga, but the whole country.
Indeed, the whole country is mourning, the Mpumalanga province is mourning. And as SASCO Mpumalanga, how do you reflect on the legacy of David Mabuza, particularly his early career as a teacher, and what values and what principles do you think he carried from his days as an educator into his political life?
No, thank you. One thing that we can never take away from the former Deputy President is that he has always been driven by unifying the people of South Africa. He's always been clear on the transformative agenda to make sure that not only are schools being transformed, if you can even go to projects like University of Mpumalanga, but he was very passionate of infrastructure development. As you can see that he was pushing and pulling to make sure that the infrastructure of Mpumalanga, there's a total change, and we can't run away from his transformative agenda that speaks on curriculum transformation and everything, because every time you'll see the DP, he'll be encouraging young people to go back to school, he'll be encouraging young people to register in institutions. Even when you were invited in gala dinners, you would hear him how passionate he understood the power of the pen to say it is only through education that will be able to transform and change lives of our people. As a tribute to David Mabuza, as SASCO, we are going to continue to carry the baton. Hence, we are still embarking a struggle of introducing the South African Student Charter, because of leaders like David Mabuza that understood why it's important to unite the people of South Africa to make sure that we're taking the country forward together.
And many remember him as someone who valued education quite deeply. So can you share any initiatives that he championed that directly benefited students in Mpumalanga?
Thank you, Mr. Gaz. One of the biggest things that we have seen in our lifetime, it was how passionate he was in making sure that financial exclusion, students that are financially excluded because of their background, are getting help. You would see when he was still premier there, Masilela, in January, there'll be students taken to a lot of universities outside the province and even inside the province to make sure that you deal with a policy issue that was financial exclusion, to make sure that as when the government cannot reach certain level, but they were able to go at it in their own pockets, even mobilizing funds to make sure that there's no student that is excluded financially. So it's one of those things that we're taking up from him to say he showed serious passion and dedication in making sure that policies such as financial exclusion for students are being confronted and dealt with.
What was his relationship with student organizations like SASCO like during his tenure as premier and later as deputy president?
I would have joined or been in the leadership positions of SASCO when he was deputy president, but I'm well aware that from time to time would go. I remember there was a time when the then president of SASCO with the current president of SASCO, who was in SG at the time, they went to the Mabuza compound just to seek advice and legal counsel to say, how do we carry the baton forward as a former leader of Azazo, to say, what is it that we can do better to improve and make sure that we are changing the status quo. So he's forever been passionate and available in advising and making sure that we do not commit the same mistake that were committed by those that led before us. So he played a crucial role even when things were getting out of hand, when there were strikes. He would call and want to understand, to say, why are students in a particular institution fighting, what is happening, what can be done. Right. So that's how far we can remember Deputy President Comrade David Mabuza.
As many people paid tribute to his legacy and sharing with us fond memories, and some people have viewed him as a complex figure with both supporters and critics. So how do you think history will remember David Mabuza, especially in relation to education and youth empowerment?
History will absorb Comrade David Mabuza, because you ought to be realistic when you are speaking about issues. And one thing that he has been able to do correct, it was his practicality. Comrade David Mabuza was a practical leader. We remember at a time when the ANC Youth League took an initiative that said they need 40% representation of young people in all strategic centers. Comrade David Mabuza at the time was a premier, and he accepted that with open hands and made sure that he's supporting and rallying a number of young people that can be traced even today in their ranks, as they have grown in their ranks, that it was Comrade David Mabuza that supported the 40% representation of young people in strategic areas and key areas. So his practicality was of another level. The way he used to do things, he made sure that he's touching lives, he's changing lives, especially of young people, lives of young people. He has even made sure that he ushered in an era where more institutions in Mpumalanga were built in very deep rural areas like your Dondoni, to make sure that they are strategically placed where to make sure that even the poorest of the poor can access this institution. So he'll be remembered for all the stellar work that he has done to make sure that young people's voices are heard throughout governance.
Siyabonga Shabalala, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
No, thank you.
Well, that was SASCO Mpumalanga Provincial Secretary Siyabonga Shabalala joining us via Zoom to share more on the reflections and the recollection and, of course, the legacy that has been earmarked by David Mabuza.